Marcus Chen stood at the viewport of Nexus Station, watching the massive Zephyrian royal ship dock with precise mechanical grace. The vessel was 3 times larger than any human spacecraft he had ever seen, its crystalline hull gleaming with alien technology that made Earth's best ships look like toys. "Remember, Chen," Director Hayes said through his earpiece, "this assignment could change everything for humanity. The Zephyrian Empire controls 12 star systems. If we can prove ourselves worthy allies, Earth gets access to their trade routes and technology." Marcus adjusted his tactical vest and checked his weapons one final time. "Understood, Director. Protect the twins, maintain diplomatic relations, and don't mess up humanity's future." No pressure at all. The docking bay filled with an otherworldly hum as the Zephyrian delegation emerged. Marcus had studied their species for weeks, but seeing them in person was still shocking. The Zephyrians were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the station's artificial light. Their large, dark eyes held an intelligence that felt ancient and calculating. But the twins were different. Prince Kale and Princess Zara walked side by side, their movements perfectly synchronized in a way that seemed almost supernatural. Both had the distinctive silver markings on their foreheads that marked them as royal blood, and both carried themselves with confidence that spoke of years of training and privilege. Ambassador Hendricks, Earth's lead diplomat, stepped forward with a nervous smile. "Your Highnesses, welcome to Nexus Station. May I present Marcus Chen, your assigned security specialist during the peace negotiations." The twins stopped walking and studied Marcus with obvious disappointment. Prince Kale spoke first, his voice carrying a musical quality that all Zephyrians possessed. "This is what Earth considers elite protection. He looks barely older than a youngling." Princess Zara tilted her head, examining Marcus like he was an interesting but ultimately disappointing specimen. "Our intelligence reports suggested humans were primitive, but I expected at least basic physical enhancement. Where are his biomodifications, his neural implants?" Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but kept his expression neutral. He had dealt with arrogant clients before, though none had been alien royalty who could potentially determine his entire species' future. "Your Highnesses, I understand your concerns. However, I believe you'll find that human methods, while different, can be quite effective." Commander Vex, the head of the Zephyrian security detail, stepped forward. He was larger than the twins, with scars across his blue skin that told stories of many battles. "With respect, Ambassador, our technology can predict threats 3 minutes before they materialize. Our shields can stop projectiles moving at light speed. What can this human possibly offer that we cannot provide ourselves?" Before Marcus could respond, the lights in the docking bay flickered. For just a moment, everything went dark. When the emergency lighting kicked in, Marcus was already moving. His training had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every instinct was screaming danger. "Down!" Marcus shouted, diving toward the twins. Prince Kale started to protest, but Marcus tackled both royals to the ground just as energy blasts scorched the air where they had been standing. The attack came from multiple directions. Assassins dressed as maintenance workers emerged from behind cargo containers, their weapons charged and ready. The Zephyrian security detail was fast, but they had been caught completely off guard. Their advanced prediction systems had somehow failed to detect the threat. Marcus rolled behind a shipping container, pulling the twins with him. "Stay low, and don't move unless I tell you," he ordered, already assessing the tactical situation. 6 attackers, positioned to create crossfire patterns, professional setup. This wasn't random. "How did they get past our scanners?" Princess Zara whispered, her earlier arrogance replaced by genuine fear. "Your technology looks for energy signatures and movement patterns," Marcus explained while checking his sidearm. "But humans learned long ago that the best weapons are often the simplest ones. These attackers are using compressed air projectile weapons with ceramic ammunition. No energy signature, no metal to detect." Commander Vex's voice crackled over the comm system. "All units, form defensive positions around the royals. Activate emergency shields." But Marcus was already moving, while the Zephyrian guards tried To set up their standard defensive formation, he slipped away from the container. The attackers expected either a frontal assault or a defensive standoff. They weren't prepared for someone who thought differently. Marcus had studied the docking bay layout before the twins arrived. He knew about the ventilation shafts, the emergency exits, and the blind spots in the security cameras. More importantly, he understood something the attackers didn't. Humans were unpredictable. He circled around through a maintenance corridor, coming up behind the first attacker. The assassin was focused on the Zephyrian guards, waiting for them to make their predictable defensive moves. He never saw Marcus coming. The human security specialist struck silently, using techniques that didn't rely on advanced technology or enhanced strength, just speed, surprise, and the kind of tactical thinking that had kept humanity alive on a dangerous planet for thousands of years. One by one, Marcus eliminated the attackers. He moved through the docking bay like a ghost, using shadows and distractions that the aliens hadn't even noticed. While the Zephyrian guards were still setting up their energy shields, Marcus had already neutralized 4 of the 6 threats. The remaining 2 attackers finally realized their mistake. They turned their weapons toward Marcus, but he was already anticipating their moves. He rolled behind a support pillar just as their shots sparked off the metal, then used a ricochet angle to disable their weapons with precise return fire. When the emergency lighting finally stabilized, the docking bay was secure. 6 would-be assassins lay unconscious, their weapons disabled, their identities hidden behind tactical masks. The Zephyrian security detail stood in perfect formation, their shields powered and their weapons ready for a battle that was already over. Prince Kale and Princess Zera emerged from behind their cover, staring at Marcus with something that looked like amazement. Commander Vex approached slowly, his expression mixing respect with confusion. "How?" Commander Vex asked simply. "Our systems detected nothing. Our predictions showed no threat." Marcus holstered his weapon and straightened his tactical vest. "Your systems are designed to work within known parameters, but humans learn to survive by adapting to the unknown. We don't just prepare for the threats we can predict. We prepare for the ones we can't." Princess Zera stepped forward, her earlier dismissive attitude completely gone. "You saved our lives. Your methods, they're unlike anything we've studied." "That's the point, Your Highness," Marcus replied. "Sometimes the best defense isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's just being willing to think differently." As station security arrived to process the attackers, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this had been just the beginning. Someone had wanted the twins dead badly enough to risk starting an interstellar incident. The question was who, and whether they would try again. But for now, he had proven something important. Humanity might not have the most advanced technology or the strongest enhancements, but they had something equally valuable: the ability to adapt, survive, and protect what mattered most. The peace negotiations were just beginning, and Marcus Chen had just shown the Zephyrian Empire that humans were far more than they appeared to be. 3 days after the docking bay attack, Marcus Chen sat in the security briefing room studying surveillance footage for the 5th time. The attackers had been identified as members of the Shadow Sect, a radical group opposed to any alliance between the Zephyrian Empire and humanity. But something about their tactics bothered him. "They were too organized," Marcus muttered, pausing the video at the moment the lights went out. "Professional killers don't usually announce themselves with power failures." Commander Vex entered the room, his blue skin looking pale under the artificial lighting. "Human Chen, the twins have requested your presence in the diplomatic quarters. They wish to discuss security arrangements for tomorrow's formal negotiations." Marcus nodded and gathered his equipment. Over the past 3 days, his relationship with the Zephyrian security team had changed dramatically. Where once they had viewed him with dismissive superiority, now they watched him with curious respect. Some even asked questions about human tactical methods. The diplomatic quarters were luxurious by station standards, with rooms designed to accommodate various alien species. Marcus found Prince Kale and Princess Zera in their shared study, surrounded by holographic displays showing star charts and treaty documents. "Marcus," Princess Zera said, looking up from a complex economic projection, We need to discuss tomorrow's security protocols. Prince Kale gestured to a chair across from them. Our intelligence suggests the Shadow Sect has more supporters on this station than initially believed. Commander Vex's traditional defensive strategies may not be sufficient. Marcus sat down and studied the twins carefully over the past few days. He had noticed something unusual about them. They often finished each other's sentences, moved in perfect synchronization, and seemed to communicate without speaking. It was more than just being close siblings. Your Highnesses, before we discuss security, I need to understand something about your abilities, the way you move together, the way you seem to know what the other is thinking. Is this normal for Zephyrian twins? The twins exchanged a look that lasted several seconds. Marcus had the strange feeling they were having an entire conversation in that moment. Princess Zera spoke first. We share what your people might call a telepathic bond. It is rare, even among our species, perhaps 1 in a million twin births. Results in this connection, we can sense each other's thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. Prince Kale added, in battle, we move as one entity with 2 bodies. It makes this very difficult to defeat using conventional tactics. Marcus leaned forward, his tactical mind already working. That's why the attackers used the power failure. They needed to disrupt your coordination and create chaos. But it also means you have an advantage that most bodyguards don't know how to use. What do you mean? Princess Zera asked. Traditional security focuses on protecting the principal by creating barriers and eliminating threats. But with your abilities, we can do something different. We can use your connection as a tactical advantage. Marcus stood and walked to the holographic display, manipulating it to show the layout of tomorrow's negotiation chamber. Commander Vex will position his guards in a standard defensive formation. The Shadow Sect will expect this. They'll plan their attack accordingly. He highlighted several positions on the display. But what if we don't follow standard protocols? What if we use your telepathic bond to create a security network that thinks and reacts faster than any conventional system? Prince Kale studied the display with growing interest. You're suggesting we become part of our own security detail? Exactly. Your shared consciousness means you can process information from multiple perspectives simultaneously. If one of you sees a threat, both of you know about it instantly. That's faster than any communication system. Princess Zera stood and moved closer to the display. But we've never been trained in combat tactics. We're diplomats and scholars, not warriors. You don't need to be warriors, Marcus explained. You need to be sensors and processors. I'll handle the physical threats. But with your abilities feeding me information in real time, I can respond to dangers before they fully develop. Over the next few hours, Marcus outlined his unconventional security plan. Instead of hiding the twins away from potential threats, he would position them where they could observe the entire negotiation chamber. Their telepathic bond would allow them to monitor conversations, body language, and subtle behavioral changes that might indicate hostile intent. Human security doctrine teaches us to expect the unexpected, Marcus explained as he marked positions on the chamber layout. But Zephyrian abilities allow us to detect the unexpected before it happens. Commander Vex arrived during their planning session, reviewing Marcus's proposals with obvious skepticism. This is highly irregular. Human Chen, royal protocol requires the twins to remain in secure positions throughout the negotiations. Commander, Prince Kale said firmly, we've seen what Human Chen's irregular methods can accomplish. Perhaps it's time to trust his expertise. The next morning, the negotiation chamber filled with delegates from 12 different species. The formal peace talks between the Zephyrian Empire and Earth were historic, with potential implications for the entire galaxy. Marcus positioned himself near the main entrance, while the twins took seats that provided optimal views of the entire room. At first, everything proceeded normally. Ambassador Hendricks presented Earth's proposal for mutual defense agreements and trade partnerships. The Zephyrian Chancellor responded with careful diplomatic language that committed to nothing, while leaving all options open. But Marcus noticed Princess Zera's subtle hand signal, a gesture they had agreed upon to indicate suspicious activity. Through his earpiece, Her voice was barely a whisper. Third row, delegate with the green markings. His bio readings show elevated stress, but he's not part of any official negotiation team. Marcus shifted his position to get a better view of the suspect. The being looked like a standard Centaurian trade representative. But Princess Zera's observation about bio readings was troubling. How could she detect biological stress from across the room? Prince Kel's voice joined the conversation. Marcus, we're sensing deception from multiple sources. The Endorian delegate is concealing something significant, and 2 of the human support staff have elevated anxiety levels. This was beyond normal Zephyrian abilities. The twins weren't just reading each other's thoughts, they were somehow processing sensory data that should have been impossible to detect. Your Highnesses. Marcus whispered into his comm unit. Are you reading minds other than each other's? Not exactly, Princess Zera replied. But our bond seems to amplify our natural empathic abilities when we work together. We can sense emotional states and physical stress throughout the room. Marcus felt a chill of realization. The twins weren't just telepathically connected. They were becoming a living sensor network that could detect deception, hostility, and physical threats with supernatural accuracy. Second attack incoming. Prince Kel's voice was urgent. The Centaurian delegate and 3 others. They're preparing to act in approximately 90 seconds. Marcus was already moving before the prince finished speaking. But this time, he wasn't reacting to an attack. He was preventing one. Using the twins' enhanced perception, he could identify and neutralize threats before they became dangerous. The would-be attackers never had a chance to act. Marcus intercepted them with surgical precision, disabling their weapons and restraining them before they could threaten anyone. To the other delegates, it looked like routine security maintenance. Only Marcus and the twins knew they had just prevented another assassination attempt. As station security quietly removed the conspirators, Marcus realized something important had changed. The twins' abilities weren't just useful for protection, they were revolutionary. A telepathic bond that could process information from multiple sources simultaneously was beyond anything human or Zephyrian technology could achieve alone. But it raised a troubling question. If the twins' abilities were growing stronger, what else might be possible? And who else might be interested in controlling or eliminating such power? The negotiations continued, but Marcus knew the real challenge was just beginning. After the second failed assassination attempt, Marcus knew the Shadow Sect would try something more sophisticated. They had learned that conventional attacks wouldn't work against his unconventional methods. That meant the next threat would be unlike anything they had faced before. We need to prepare for psychological warfare, Marcus explained to the twins in their private training room. Physical attacks have failed, so they'll try to break your mental connection or turn you against each other. Princess Zera frowned as she adjusted the practice combat gear Marcus had designed for her. Our bond has existed since birth. How could anyone break something so fundamental? Every strength can become a weakness if used against you, Marcus replied, demonstrating a basic defensive stance. Your telepathic connection makes you incredibly effective together. But what happens if someone finds a way to disrupt it or feed you false information through it? Prince Kel practiced the movement Marcus had shown him, his natural grace making the human combat techniques look almost elegant. You believe they will attempt to manipulate our thoughts? I believe they'll try everything, Marcus said. That's why we need to prepare your minds the same way we prepare your bodies. Human soldiers learn to function even when cut off from communication. You need to learn to think independently while maintaining your connection. Over the past week, Marcus had been teaching the twins basic human survival and combat techniques, not because he expected them to fight, but because understanding human methods helped them appreciate different ways of thinking. The cultural exchange was proving beneficial for all of them. Your species fascinates me, Princess Zera said during a break in training. Humans seem to excel at adapting to impossible situations. How do you develop this ability? Marcus sat down beside her, wiping sweat from his forehead. Necessity. Earth is a dangerous planet. Natural disasters, predators, environmental changes. We learn to survive by being flexible. When one approach fails, we try another. Prince Kale joined them, moving with the careful precision that Marcus had taught him. But your adaptability goes beyond survival. In our research, we discovered that humans often create art, music, and literature during their most difficult periods. Why? Because adaptation isn't just about surviving, Marcus explained. It's about finding meaning and hope even in the worst circumstances. When humans face something that could destroy them, they don't just fight back, they find ways to grow stronger. Princess Zara studied Marcus with her large, dark eyes. Is that why you chose to become a protector? To help others find that strength? The question caught Marcus off guard. He had joined Earth's security forces after his family was killed in a terrorist attack, but he had never thought about his motivation in those terms. Maybe. I know what it feels like to lose everything. If I can prevent others from experiencing that pain, then maybe something good comes from what happened to me. The twins exchanged one of their silent conversations, and Marcus could see understanding pass between them. Despite their telepathic abilities and advanced technology, they were beginning to grasp something uniquely human: the transformation of suffering into strength. We would like to teach you something in return, Prince Kel said. Our people have techniques for mental discipline that might benefit your protective methods. What kind of techniques? Marcus asked. Princess Zara stood and gestured for him to join her in the center of the training area. Zephyrian. Meditation allows us to expand our awareness beyond normal limitations. With practice, you could learn to sense hostile intentions and emotional states without technological assistance. Marcus was skeptical but curious. How does it work? Close your eyes and focus on your breathing, Princess Zara instructed. Now, instead of trying to block out distractions, open your mind to them. Let yourself become aware of everything around you. At first, Marcus felt nothing unusual. But as the twins guided him through the meditation technique, something strange began to happen. He became aware of their emotional states, Princess Zara's patient concentration, Prince Kel's quiet excitement about sharing their knowledge. I can sense something, Marcus said, keeping his eyes closed. It's like feeling the mood of the room. Exactly, Prince Kel said softly. Now extend that awareness. Feel for anything that doesn't belong, any presence that carries hostile intent. Marcus concentrated harder, expanding his consciousness the way the twins had taught him. Suddenly, he felt something cold and wrong, a presence filled with anger and violence lurking just outside their training room. His eyes snapped open and he moved toward his weapon in one fluid motion. Someone's watching us. Hostile intent. About 20 meters away through the wall. The twins looked at each other in amazement. That should have taken months of training to achieve, Princess Zara whispered. Humans learn fast when lives are at stake, Marcus replied, already moving toward the door. Stay behind me and maintain your connection. If this goes wrong, you need to be able to coordinate and escape. Marcus slipped out of the training room, using the stealth techniques he had perfected over years of security work. But now he also used the expanded awareness the twins had taught him, feeling for the hostile presence like a hunter tracking dangerous prey. He found the spy in a maintenance corridor, using advanced surveillance equipment to monitor their training session. The being was definitely not station personnel. His equipment was military grade, and his emotional state radiated focused hatred. Marcus approached silently, but the spy somehow sensed him coming. The alien spun around with inhuman speed, raising a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. But Marcus was already inside his guard, using close-quarters combat techniques that the spy's advanced reflexes couldn't match. The fight was brief but intense. The spy was fast and strong, but he had been trained to fight other Zephyrians who relied on technology and predictable tactics. Marcus fought like a human, dirty, adaptive, and completely unpredictable. When it was over, Marcus searched the unconscious spy and found something troubling. The surveillance equipment wasn't just recording their activities. It was analyzing the twins' telepathic patterns and looking for ways to disrupt them. Back in the training room, Marcus showed the twins what he had discovered. They're not just planning another attack, they're studying your abilities to find weaknesses. Prince Kale examined the captured equipment with growing alarm. This technology could map our telepathic frequency and create interference patterns. If they succeed, they could sever our connection permanently. Or worse, Princess Zera added, they could use it to feed us false information through our bond. We would trust it completely because it would seem to come from each other. Marcus felt a chill of understanding. The Shadow Sect wasn't just trying to kill the twins, they were trying to turn their greatest strength into a weapon against them. That's why they let the first two attacks fail. They were learning how your abilities work so they could develop countermeasures. But they made a mistake, Princess Zera said, looking at Marcus with something like admiration. They didn't account for human adaptability. You learned our meditation techniques in minutes, not months. That suggests our abilities can be enhanced by human mental flexibility. Prince Kale nodded slowly. And your combat methods become more effective when guided by our expanded awareness. We're becoming something neither of our species could achieve alone. Marcus studied the surveillance equipment again, his tactical mind already working on new defensive strategies. Then we need to use that advantage before they figure out how to counter it. The next attack won't just target your bodies or your minds, it will target the connection between you. What do you suggest? Princess Zera asked. We turn their trap against them, Marcus replied. If they want to disrupt your telepathic bond, we let them try. But we'll be ready with something they won't expect, a human Zephyrian hybrid fighting style. That doesn't rely entirely on your connection. The twins looked at each other, and Marcus could feel the silent conversation passing between them. When they turned back to him, their expressions were determined. Teach us, Prince Kale said simply. As they began training for what Marcus knew would be the final confrontation, he realized something important had changed. The cultural exchange between human and Zephyrian methods wasn't just creating better security. It was creating something entirely new, a partnership that combined the best of both species and transcended the limitations of either one alone. The Shadow Sect thought they understood their enemy. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Marcus woke up to the sound of his emergency communicator buzzing with urgent priority codes. The time display showed 03 for 7 hours, 3 hours before the final treaty signing ceremony. No one contacted security at this hour unless something had gone terribly wrong. Chen here, he answered, already reaching for his equipment. Director Hayes' voice crackled through the secure channel, but something was wrong with his tone. Marcus, we have a situation. Intelligence has discovered that the Shadow Sect has infiltrated the highest levels of the Zephyrian government. The twins are no longer safe on the station. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. What kind of infiltration, sir? The Chancellor himself may be compromised. We're initiating emergency extraction protocols. Report to Docking Base 7 immediately. That's an order. The connection ended before Marcus could ask questions. He stared at the communicator, his enhanced awareness picking up something that hadn't been there before. During his training with the twins, he had learned to sense deception and hidden intentions. Right now, those instincts were screaming warnings. Marcus quickly dressed and gathered his gear. But instead of heading to Docking Base 7, he went to the twins' quarters. If there really was a threat this serious, his first duty was to verify their safety. He found Prince Kale and Princess Zera awake and alert in their shared study, surrounded by holographic displays showing communication intercepts and security reports. Marcus, Princess Zera said without looking up, we've been monitoring increased Shadow Sect activity throughout the night. Something major is about to happen. Have you received any evacuation orders? Marcus asked, studying their faces carefully. Prince Kale shook his head. No official communications from our security detail. Commander Vex has maintained regular check-ins every hour. Why do you ask? Marcus explained his conversation with Director Hayes, watching the twins' reactions closely. Their enhanced empathic abilities would detect any deception on his part, but they could also help him understand what was really happening. That doesn't make sense, Princess Zera said, her expression troubled. Our intelligence shows no evidence of infiltration at the Chancellor level. If anything, the Shadow Sect appears to be getting more desperate, not more successful. Unless, Prince Kale began, then stopped as understanding dawned in his eyes. Marcus, What if the infiltration isn't in our government? What if it's in yours? The possibility hit Marcus like a physical blow. Director Hayes had been his handler for 3 years. The man had personally selected him for this assignment and briefed him on its importance for humanity's future. But now that Marcus thought about it, Hayes had always seemed unusually well-informed about Zephyrian capabilities and weaknesses. "We need to verify this," Marcus said. Moving to the twins' communication console, "Can your systems trace the source of that transmission?" Princess Zera's fingers danced over the holographic interface with practiced efficiency. The signal originated from Earth's diplomatic section, but she paused, frowning at the data. "The encryption patterns are wrong. This was transmitted using Shadow Sect communication protocols disguised as Earth diplomatic channels." Marcus felt the betrayal like a knife in his chest. Someone in Earth's government was working with the Shadow Sect. Someone who had access to his mission briefings, his security protocols, and his personal communication codes. "It gets worse," Prince Kale said, monitoring a different data stream. "The evacuation order is designed to separate you from us at the most vulnerable moment. In 3 hours, when the treaty is signed, we'll be making a public appearance without our most effective protector." "But why?" Marcus asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "What does Earth gain from your deaths?" Princess Zera looked up from her console, her expression grave. "There are factions in your government who believe humanity should expand through conquest rather than alliance. If the peace treaty fails and we're killed by parent Shadow Sect terrorists, it provides justification for military action against the Zephyrian Empire." The full scope of the conspiracy became clear to Marcus. The Shadow Sect attacks had never been the real threat. They were cover for a much larger plan that involved corrupt elements in both governments. The twins' deaths would trigger a war that certain people wanted, regardless of the cost in lives. "So what do we do?" Marcus asked. "My own government has labeled me a potential security risk. Commander Vex's forces are designed to fight external threats, not internal conspiracy. And we have less than 3 hours before the ceremony. We do what humans do best." Prince Kale said with a slight smile. "We adapt." Over the next hour, they developed a plan that would have been impossible without the cultural exchange of the past. Weeks, Marcus would appear to follow his evacuation orders while actually remaining on the station in disguise. The twins would attend the ceremony as scheduled, but with enhanced security measures that combined human unpredictability with Zephyrian technology. The risky part was that they would have to do it without official support from either government. If they were wrong about the conspiracy, they would be committing treason. If they were right but failed to stop the real attack, the twins would die and war would be inevitable. "There's something else," Princess Zera said as they finalized their preparations. "Our enhanced abilities, the ones we've been developing through training with you, they seem to be growing stronger. We're starting to sense intentions and emotions from much greater distances. Is that good or bad?" Marcus asked. "We're not sure," Prince Kale admitted. "But if there's a traitor at the ceremony, we should be able to identify them through their emotional state. Fear, guilt, and hostile intent create very distinctive patterns." Marcus nodded, though he was worried about relying too heavily on abilities they didn't fully understand. "Remember, we assume nothing and trust no one except each other. The moment something feels wrong, we abort and get you to safety at 0600 hours. Marcus sent a coded message to Director Hayes confirming his evacuation from the station. In reality, he was hiding in a maintenance shaft near the ceremony hall, wearing civilian clothes and using Zephyrian cloaking technology that Princess Zera had provided. From his concealed position, Marcus watched the final preparations for the treaty signing. Delegates from dozens of worlds filled the ceremonial chamber, their various species creating a colorful display of galactic diversity. Everything looked normal, but his enhanced awareness detected undercurrents of tension and anticipation that shouldn't have been there. The twins entered precisely on schedule, flanked by Commander Vex and his security detail. To any observer, they appeared calm and confident. But Marcus could see the subtle signs of alertness he had taught them. The way they positioned themselves for quick movement, the careful attention they paid to exit routes and potential threats. Ambassador Hendricks approached the ceremonial podium, carrying the treaty documents that would formalize the alliance between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. But something in his movement pattern triggered Marcus's alarm instincts. Through his earpiece, Princess Zara's voice was barely audible. Marcus, we're detecting extreme anxiety from Ambassador Hendricks. His emotional state suggests he's about to do something he doesn't want to do. Before Marcus could respond, Prince Kel's voice joined the channel. Multiple sources of hostile intent throughout the chamber. This isn't a shadow sect attack. It's much bigger. Marcus realized with growing horror that the conspiracy went deeper than they had imagined. The treaty signing ceremony itself was a trap, and everyone, including Ambassador Hendricks, was either a willing participant or an unwilling pawn in a game that would determine the fate of both. Their species. The ceremony began, but Marcus knew it would end in blood unless they could identify the real enemy and stop them before it was too late. The problem was that their enhanced abilities were telling them the threat was everywhere, which meant the betrayal went to the very heart of both governments. The treaty signing ceremony was halfway complete when Marcus spotted the first anomaly. A maintenance worker near the ventilation system was moving with military precision, rather than casual efficiency. Through his enhanced awareness, Marcus sensed focused hostility radiating from the figure like heat from a flame. Twins. Maintenance worker at Grid 7 Alpha. Hostile intent confirmed. Marcus whispered into his communicator. Princess Zara's voice came back tense with concentration. Confirmed. We're detecting similar patterns from at least 6 other positions throughout the chamber. Marcus. This is coordinated. Ambassador Hendricks continued reading the treaty articles, but his hands were shaking. Every few seconds, he glanced towards specific delegates in the audience, not random looks, but deliberate signals. Prince Kel's voice joined the communication channel. Ambassador Hendricks is terrified. We're sensing guilt, fear, and resignation. He knows what's about to happen and feels powerless to stop it. Marcus made a decision that would either save lives or end his career. I'm going active. Be ready to move. He dropped from his concealed position and began moving through the chambers. Upper maintenance level. Years of training had taught him to navigate confined spaces silently, but now he also used the Zephyrian meditation techniques to sense hostile intentions. Before encountering them physically, the first assassin never saw him coming. Marcus disabled the man's weapon and rendered him unconscious using pressure point techniques. That left no permanent damage. The second assassin was more alert, but human unpredictability combined with enhanced awareness made the outcome inevitable. As Marcus worked his way through the hidden attack force, he began to understand the true scope of the conspiracy. These weren't Shadow Sect terrorists. They were professional soldiers from multiple species, all wearing equipment that would implicate the Shadow Sect after the attack. Princess Zara, Marcus whispered as he secured another unconscious assassin. Can you access the station's communication logs without triggering security alerts? Already working on it, she replied. Prince Kale is monitoring the ceremony while I trace the real command structure. We're discovering some very interesting connections. Through his earpiece, Marcus could hear Ambassador Hendricks reaching the final portion of the treaty. The moment of signing was approaching, which meant the attack would begin soon. He needed to identify the primary threat before it was too late. Marcus. Prince Kel's voice was urgent. We found the real target. They're not trying to kill us during the ceremony. They're planning to detonate the entire chamber after the treaty is signed, making it look like a Shadow Sect suicide attack. The revelation hit Marcus like ice water. How long do we have? 3 minutes after the signing. Princess Zara replied. The bomb is hidden in the ceremonial podium itself. Ambassador Hendricks doesn't know. He thinks he's just reading a treaty that will be sabotaged later through political means. Marcus was moving before she finished speaking. He dropped down into the main chamber through a ceiling access panel, landing silently behind a group of Centaurian delegates. Several security guards spotted him immediately, but Commander Vex recognized him and held his forces back. Ambassador Hendricks. Marcus called out, walking calmly toward the podium. I need you to step away from that platform immediately. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs as delegates tried to understand what was happening. Ambassador Hendricks looked up from the treaty documents, his face pale with terror. "Marcus, what are you doing?" Hendricks whispered. "I was told you had been evacuated for security reasons, sir. That podium contains an explosive device. You need to move away now." Director Hayes' voice suddenly filled the chamber through the communication system. Security teams apprehend Marcus Chen immediately. He's suffering from paranoid delusions and poses a threat to the ceremony. But Marcus was no longer listening to his former handler. Instead, he focused on the twins, who were using their enhanced abilities to scan the emotional states of everyone in the chamber. "Marcus," Princess Zera's voice was calm despite the chaos. "Director Hayes is on the station. He's in the control room with 2 other conspirators. They're preparing to trigger the device manually if necessary." Prince Kale added, "We're detecting panic from several delegates who clearly know what's supposed to happen. The conspiracy includes representatives from at least 4 different governments." Marcus reached the podium and began examining it for explosive devices. His training in demolitions was basic, but the enhanced awareness the twins had taught him allowed him to sense the dangerous energy. Patterns hidden within the ceremonial platform found it. He announced, locating a sophisticated bomb designed to look like decorative technology. "Everyone needs to evacuate immediately." But instead of panicking, something remarkable happened. Commander Vex stepped forward, his expression determined. "Human Chen has proven his loyalty and judgment repeatedly. If he says there's danger, we listen." Several other delegates began moving toward the exits, but the conspirators revealed themselves. By trying to prevent the evacuation, Marcus watched as beings he had been briefed to trust drew concealed weapons and attempted to force the ceremony to continue. The twins moved with perfect coordination, using the hybrid fighting techniques Marcus had taught them. They weren't trying to hurt anyone, just create confusion and prevent the conspirators from maintaining control. Their telepathic bond allowed them to coordinate movements with impossible precision. Marcus focused on disarming the bomb while the chamber descended into controlled chaos around him. The device was more sophisticated than anything he had encountered, but his enhanced awareness allowed him to sense which components were critical and which were merely decoys. 30 seconds. He announced, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked. Director Hayes' voice crackled over the communication system one final time. "Marcus, stop what you're doing. This is bigger than you understand. The war is inevitable. We're just trying to ensure humanity wins it." "No," Marcus replied, not looking up from his work. "War isn't inevitable. It's just easier than building something better." With 5 seconds remaining, Marcus disconnected the final component. The bomb's energy signature faded to nothing, and the chamber fell silent except for the sound of heavy breathing and scattered applause. Commander Vex approached the podium, studying the disarmed device with professional interest. This would have killed everyone in the chamber and destroyed 3 levels of the station. "How did you know?" Marcus looked toward the twins, who were standing together near the treaty table. Despite everything that had happened, the documents were still there, ready to be signed. "I learned to trust abilities I didn't understand and people who became more important than orders," Marcus replied. "Sometimes the best security isn't about following protocols. It's about doing what's right." Over the following hours, the full scope of the conspiracy was revealed. Director Hayes and his co-conspirators had planned to use the twins' deaths as justification for a war that would benefit military contractors and expansionist politicians. The Shadow Sect had been manipulated, not leading the conspiracy. The real treaty signing took place 3 days later, with enhanced security provided by a joint humans Ephraim team led by Marcus and Commander Vex. The cultural exchange that had begun as a security necessity had evolved into something unprecedented, a true partnership between species. Princess Zera and Prince Kale personally requested that Marcus be assigned as the permanent liaison for humans Ephraim security cooperation. The twins' enhanced abilities continued to grow, but now they were guided by human tactical thinking and ethical principles. Ambassador Hendricks, cleared of any wrongdoing, signed the treaty with steady hands. As he finished the last signature, he looked at Marcus with genuine gratitude. How do we thank someone who saved not just our lives, but prevented a war between our peoples? Marcus smiled, thinking of everything he had learned about loyalty, trust, and the courage to choose what's right over what's easy. You don't thank me, he replied. You make sure the peace we've built together is worth the effort it took to create it. The galaxy had come closer to war than anyone realized, but in the end, it was human adaptability combined with alien wisdom that saved them all. The Guardian Protocol had succeeded not because of advanced technology or superior firepower, but because 3 individuals chose to trust each other across the vast differences between their species. And in doing so, they had created something that neither humanity nor the Zephyrian Empire could have achieved alone, a future built on cooperation rather than conquest.